Welcome to Clothes Don't Make the Man, an interracial and multicultural revenge thriller from the Get Busy series by P.T. Kidman. Hi, I'm P.T. Kidman. Welcome to my first foray into fiction novels or fiction for adults. Feel free to listen to this video or watch it at your leisure time, and I welcome you to share it with others if you find the material interesting and enjoyable. This will be a thriller novel, so stay tuned. The Jacket. Perud felt like a millionaire 364 days a year. On those other 2 days he wore the jacket, he felt like a billionaire. It was beautiful, well designed, rich in texture, and turned many heads. The colors were brown, light gold tint with shiny luster in the squiggly design. He wore it only on special occasions, such as a New Year's Eve ball or the frat's black tie event. Whenever he wore the jacket, people constantly looked his way, and many approached and asked where he bought it or complimented him on its beauty and uniqueness. Faroud didn't know the jacket's true origin. He received it from his best friend, who purchased an auction lot which contained 3 trunks of uniquely styled clothing. All of the clothing belonged to a man who owned a two men's store in Dallas. All the clothing belonged to a man who owned 2 men's stores in Dallas. Both boutiques catered to men with discerning taste. The stores had been open for just a few years, and the owner had developed a reputation for selling one-of-a-kind merch. He wore beautiful clothes himself, not the Gucci's of the world, but pieces you could only purchase at the World Trade Center or Fashion Mart if you had a vendor's license. There was no finding this quality of clothing online unless you were a buyer and knew where to look. Faroud and his buddy Ron called it the dead man suit. It earned the name because the shop owner was killed during a robbery. People said his own employees had pulled off the job. Faroud wasn't sure about the details, but he was sure he loved wearing the dead man's jacket. He kept the jacket in a special part of his closet, along with other clothes he wore infrequently. As time went by, he seemed to have fewer chances to take it out and strut. There were fewer social events to attend as society was changing. Folks now met online instead of at clubs, which were slowly fading out. People were becoming more casual as the number of places to go dancing dwindled. Even on New Year's Eve, people were not dressing up as they used to. It didn't help that he had moved due to job changes twice in the last several years. That meant his network of friends with connections in society had grown much smaller to almost non-existent. When he lived in North Carolina, at least he could look forward to going to his fraternity's annual gala. Even that opportunity was gone now, since he lived in a smaller town. The jacket was mainly a symbol of time gone by he really loved. It had become a relic of memories of good times, filled with beautiful people and festivities loaded with delicious food and fine drink. On the final occasion Faroud had to wear the jacket, he lit up the place because everyone else was wearing a black tuxedo. When he walked into the ballroom, all the brothers and their partners quickly shifted their gaze to him. He was dazzling. He relished the attention. He knew he was breaking the dress code by not wearing all black, but it didn't really matter because he was his own person and dressed the way he liked. He lived with that attitude in all aspects of his life. For him, mindset was the key to success. He had long given up following the crowd and now relied on his own judgment, his own intuition. When his girlfriends tried to get him to go along with others, he would say, "I don't live like that." Those words gave him a sense of freedom. That night, at the frat's New Year's Eve gala, he felt like $1 billion wearing the jacket. There was something about that jacket he loved. He wished he'd known the dead man when he was alive. He would have surely bought more clothes from the dead man's boutique. When Ron came by with a trunk of clothes, he told Farouk to pick out whatever he wanted. Being modest, he selected a pair of linen trousers, two silk and lace dress shirts, and the jacket. There were tons of other eye-catching clothes there, but he only selected a few pieces at a time. In truth, the dead man's clothing size was a little small. He must have been a short person because the trousers were barely long enough for Farouk, even after his tailor lowered the hem. He could get away with wearing them only in flat shoes. The two shirts were absolutely gorgeous. One was silver and white, sort of sheer in its makeup, and had long sleeves. You could see through it unless you wore a shirt underneath. So Farouk wore a black shirt under the long sleeve sheer garment. With the black t-shirt underneath, people could see the intricate designs of the fabric, which also had a black tie look. He only wore the silver and white shirt a few times a year. It was equally attention grabbing, but there were only so many places he could wear it and fit in. He called it his elegant party shirt and loved to wear it to nice dance occasions. The other shirt was black and silver and short sleeved, equally as nice, but equally allowing few places to wear it. He needed somewhere like a club to wear the shirt, and because it was short sleeved, it was a late spring and summer piece. There was an odd quality to that one, however. Although the fabric was pretty to look at, it was scratchy, which meant Farouk had to wear a thin t-shirt under it also. Wearing the t-shirt under short sleeve felt like it was defeating the purpose. So the shirt didn't get as much wear time as the other. As time went on, the dead man's clothes got less and less wear time. Farouk still loved them and wasn't willing to part ways with them. Eventually, the linen slacks had to go because they were too short and out of style. The shirts got fewer and fewer chances for wearing, but the dead man's jacket remained his signature piece. "Brother, that jacket you're wearing is sweet," his frat brother Maxwell said in a low-key expression. Yeah, I wish I could get this one to wear the same. Yeah, I wish I could get this one to wear something fly, said his Max. "Brother, that jacket you're wearing is sweet," his frat brother Maxwell said in a low-key expression. Yeah, I wish I could get this one to wear something fly, said Maxwell's wife Sheila, who Farouk always enjoyed talking to. She was beautiful, had a successful career, and was in some ways the key to Maxwell's success. Farouk considered Maxwell fortunate to have married Sheila. Such fortune had eluded Farouk to his dismay. I appreciate you guys for saying that. This oldie but goodie is holding its own. You all are quite stunning yourselves as usual. Maxwell, when are you going to start listening to this beautiful sister?" Farouk said as he put his arm around Sheila's shoulder. "Man, get out of here. You know she's the boss." Maxwell shot back with a huge grin. Farouk enjoyed hobnobbing with the frat. He'd made many lifelong friends with whom he had deep connections. It was a mystery how the frat produced such chemistry between men, but he loved some of his frat like they were blood brothers, and they loved him. It was a beautiful thing. One day, "We need to do some jacket shopping, brother," Farouk said to Maxwell. "You need to come up." "I'll give you a shout," Maxwell replied earnestly. On this particular night, he needed the jacket for reasons he hadn't fully come to grips with. The Farood people saw was struggling on the inside. In some ways, he was freaking out. This personal issue had often interfered with his relationships with women, who often found him aloof without explanation. It was not unusual for him to go dark on a sister. As a result, he'd missed out on relationships with potential for marriage and true connection. He needed to get over his hump if he were to achieve his dream of partnership in the firm. Every partner was married. There was no spoken rule, but it was painfully obvious no matter how many clients he brought to the firm, partnership required a life partner. The firm's leadership wasn't impressed with girlfriends, no matter how beautiful or charming. It reminded Farood of the New York Yankees. It reminded Farood of the New York Yankees, his favorite baseball team. Players dreamed of wearing the pinstripes, but wearing the pinstripes came with a price. Team ownership demanded decorum, no names on the back of their jerseys like other teams, stellar public behavior, and always have a clean shaven face. No beards allowed. Farood couldn't find the right sister to join him in that rarefied air. Players dreamed. Farood couldn't find the right sister to join him in that rarefied air. There were sister girls, sisters, and sisters. Not quite fit. None quite fit the bill. Two partners subtly hinted he might branch out, but he wasn't really down for dating outside of his race. He liked to say, the only thing a white woman can do for me is point me to a black woman. Of course, he wasn't so brazen with the partners, but he didn't give in either. Tonight, however, he wanted to capitalize on the power he possessed wearing the dead man's jacket. He only had so many hours to work it before sisters began calling it a night. For that reason, he put his issue aside and set out what he must do. For that reason, he put his issue aside and set out to do what he must.